Hi, everyone. This is Suri Deitch from SOPA. Thanks for joining us for this Masters of Public Administration webinar. We're going to wait another minute or two to see if we get a couple more people joining us. So just, yeah, be patient with us. Thank you. Great. And actually, Halima, what would you think about stopping the screen sharing right at the beginning and people can introduce themselves real quick? Does that sound good? Okay.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Great. So probably everyone is an expert in Zoom at this point, but just in case you're not, it would be great if you can turn your video on if you're able to. You may not be able to, so we can see you, and you can look at speaker view or gallery view with Zoom, so you can see everyone at the same time, or you can just see the speaker, and that'll be myself and Halima Leek-Francis, who's the director of the program and our lead faculty member, and our colleague Maddie Duncan, who has a SOPA shield as her photo, is running the slides behind the scenes. And I think we can go ahead and get started. So we have a presentation that we're going to go through today. I'm going to talk some about Tulane and SOPA and the MPA and how excited I am about it. Hopefully my dog's not going to bark in the background, but I have headphones next to me in case I need to switch to them. Halima is going to talk about the MPA program itself and what it does. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the admissions process, application and admissions process at SOPA. But first, actually, sorry, Maddie, you just put the screen back on. And we've got your cap for a minute. I'm wondering if people could just quickly introduce themselves, which does mean, if you can, turning on your video, and just real quickly your name and who you are. We appreciate you being with us today. So how about Roy?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roy Williams, and I am currently a program officer at the Greater New Orleans Foundation.
Great, thanks so much. And Mallory?
Hi, I'm Mallory Monaco Catherine. I'm actually a senior professor of practice in classical studies and co-executive director of a nonprofit called Callion Leadership.
Cool, okay. And Elizabeth?
I'm Elizabeth Langlaw. I'm the program manager for the undergraduate public health studies program here at Tulane.
Great.
History working on public health also.
Great. And then I see someone standing, but I don't see a name next to you, and you have a ponytail.
Yes, hi, sorry, it's time to do. So you guys are gonna get to hear that. My name's Laura Tollison. I don't know why my name's not showing up. I am the district manager for Banana Republic in the New Orleans market.
Great, thank you. Okay, Denise Enriquez.
You may be muted still, Denise.
Chatting. She's in a noisy environment with her husband and mother-in-law. Okay, thanks, Denise. Thanks for letting us know. And Patrick. And you can talk, or you can put it in the chat if you can't turn your, if you can't take off your mute. All right, we'll skip Patrick. How about Devin? Okay. Richard. All right, this is obviously a terrible idea on my part. I've never done it before, and we didn't warn anyone that we would be. So, all right. Hi, Richard. Middle school teacher in St. Tammany. Cool. Thanks for joining us. And I see Rhonda on there.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Kanye. I'm currently Director of Accreditation for the School of Medicine and glad to be joining you guys today.
Thanks, Rhonda. Nice to hear your voice.
You too.
Okay, and then Patrick told us he works for the city of New Orleans. Great, thanks so much for joining us. And how about Alicia?
Hi, my name is Elisa Patel. I currently am a programs associate at a small nonprofit in Houston, Texas.
Awesome, thanks so much for joining us. And then I apologize because I'm going to pronounce your name incorrectly. Is it Karen or Karen?
Hello, my name is Karen Smith. I'm a current graduate from Dillard University of New Orleans.
Thanks so much. Okay, so now having put everyone on the spot, like I said, you weren't expecting that. Maddie, if you want to go back to sharing the screen. Again, my name is Suri Deitch, and I'm the Dean of the School of Professional Advancement. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I'm joined, as I said, by my colleague, Halim Malik Francis, who is a professor of practice and the program director for the Masters of Public Administration. And we're really excited to have an opportunity to talk to you about the MPA. And I'll just say a few words to start about why I'm so excited about it. I've been dean of the school for about 3.5 years, and coming to New Orleans from New York City, New Orleans is there's a huge amount of innovation, but there's also a huge amount of need. And one of the areas where there is need is in the public sector and public sector leadership and the civic sector generally. And we had a pretty intensive process at SOPA over a few years of trying to figure out whether or not an MPA made sense for Tulane and how best to do it. And came to the conclusion that it did make sense, even though there are many schools that offer these programs. Not only was there need in the southeastern United States and in Louisiana in particular, but one of the things we learned in doing our research was that first of all, that there weren't enough good programs online offered by really excellent, highly prestigious institutions. So that was one need, and offered online so that you could have a lot of flexibility around format and location, and that the students would be better able to balance school with work and family, which is a big focus of our school. But we also realized that the field of public administration in many ways was a field where there was a lot of need for innovation, and that historically many of the programs that exist around the country were created during the progressive era, and that's often reflected in their names. The schools are named after mayors or governors or presidents, and they tend to be from the 1920s, maybe through the 1950s. And it seemed to us, it became clear in talking to many people in the field that there was a real opportunity to innovate coming into the field with an entirely new program where you could take a lot of the knowledge base that already existed, but figure out how to offer it in interesting and innovative ways that dealt directly, and I know Halim is going to talk about this more, dealt directly with current needs in our society. And I think that's only more the case, right, as we live through the COVID-19 pandemic. Every day in the news, there are case studies and lessons for us about government, about how government works, about the need for nonprofit capacity, about serving the needs of people in our society. I'm teaching the public policy foundation for the program, and I'm developing it right now. And I certainly feel like every single day is a lesson in how do you balance, in the United States in particular, the interests of the federal government with state and local governments, who's in charge, how much centralization should we have versus how much distributed leadership, And we're seeing it in action, and we're seeing a lot of flaws and gaps in our system. And I think it's clear to me, at least, that it's all the more reason why program in particular is so important right now, and why it's such an incredible opportunity for people who are considering going back to school for an MPA. So not just that it's an MPA, which is a great degree to get, not just that it's online, not just that it's from Tulane, right, which is the kind of school that Tulane is with the reputation that it has, but also that we are meeting a very particular need in the field that's happening right now. So we're really excited about that. I'm really excited to share it with you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the School of Professional Advancement. It's Tulane is a really interesting elite private use research university for having decided very early on to start educating working adults, going back to the 1880s, but also because Tulane, in its founding as the Medical College of Louisiana, was created to respond to needs in society, and specifically to focus on public health issues. And so that's a really great thing. And we have this incredible history, but we also have this ability to reinvent what we're doing at SOPA to meet the needs of the year 2020 and going forward. And it's a great combination. So when we talk about SOPA, we focus on a number of areas. If you could go to the next slide, Maddie. These days, we always talk first about our depth of experience in online education and the quality of the online education we offer. And the fact is, like, all school is happening online right now, but that doesn't mean that you actually know how to do it well. Or that you understand the difference between holding a Zoom session like this one and actually developing a thoughtful approach to instruction that integrates all the different components of good online learning. So we're really proud of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the MPA program and the faculty of the MPA program, which is consistent with all the programs across SOPA, the School of Professional Advancement. We'll talk about student support, which we also feel distinguishes us, and the fact that the school has the scale and size and intimacy that you can really get to know your advisors and the career advisors and the faculty who can give you career advice and connections, and how that's something that distinguishes us from many of our peers. Affordability and flexibility, we'll talk about our tuition rate, which is, for the kind of school that Tulane is, very reasonable. And then of course the fact that it is at Tulane, with everything that brings. So in terms of online in particular, I think there's probably, well, I won't say probably. I know that there's a lot of really poor online education going on right now in the world. There always is. Right now, I think especially when a lot of institutions and programs and faculty who weren't really ready for it are doing it, it's hard to do it well. It's hard to execute. We are really confident in the model that we've developed with our faculty and our in-house instructional designers. That is a combination of different formats. We have both what's called synchronous meetings, which is what you're doing right now, and then what's called asynchronous instruction. The synchronous meetings, which are typically once a month, could be guest speakers, they could be working on group projects, they could be student presentations, and they're backed up with a huge amount of material in different kinds of formats. So you have textbooks, you have, but you also have video, and sometimes you have games, and sometimes you have simulations, and it's a really great opportunity to sort of take the best of the multi in the world right now and bring it into the classroom. And we do a great job of that. And it can be difficult, right? Because in some ways, like, you're not in the same room as some people, and you're not always there in person. And we will talk about the in-person components of the program, but in general, you're not. And there's something lost with that. But then there's also something gained. So the fact that there's no hiding in the back of the classroom, that everyone is on the same level, including if you have a guest speaker. There's a lot of value to that, and there's a lot of flexibility in how you communicate with your peers and with faculty. In the next slide, we talk just a little bit about the scale of how we do online at SOPA, which is pretty extensive, and again, something that we're really emphasizing right now. So a lot of expertise, a lot of investment by the school and by Tulane standing behind us to do this work well, and to be able to assure you that we know what we're doing, and that this is going to be a great educational opportunity for you as a student. So with that, I'll hand it off to Halima to talk more about the MPA itself.
Thank you, Suri. Thank you for giving that background and giving us some context about SOPA and the great work that the school has done over the years. And it's wonderful to have the MPA be a part of the School of Professional Advancement. I'm going to talk more about kind of the nuts and bolts of the MPA program and what you can expect to experience as a student in this program. Myself coming to this work and coming to this program, I've worked in the nonprofit sector for over 20 years and working in the areas mostly of capacity building, organizational leadership, organizational culture and development. And then also I've done substantial work in the philanthropic world as well, kind of advocating for strategic philanthropy and recognizing the impact of charitable giving on sustainable communities and society. So when you look at our faculty, we have 4 of our faculty members here, but this represents the wealth of knowledge and insight that we have within our program. As I think about our MPA faculty, they are certainly a core strength of our program, in my opinion, and I would put this against anyone. I think we have one of the best faculties in the country in terms of MPA programs, not only from a knowledge base, but also experience. And as a student, you have access to those individuals. They care deeply about the development of our students. They care deeply about positioning you to be leaders. They care deeply about sharing their insight and expertise that's not only tested through theory and scholarship and scholarly work, but also through their practice, through their work. So we have on our faculty, we have a former mayor, we have leaders in education, we have leaders in economic development. So all of our faculty they have stood at the forefront of leadership and civic innovation in this work, whether it be in the nonprofit sector, government and policy, or even in corporate settings. They've done work in those areas, all with the heart of making an impact in our society. So we really have a strong, wonderful faculty that you benefit from as a student in the program. Next slide. So looking at the Master of Public Administration, our goal is to really prepare you to be forward-thinking, responsive, thoughtful and ethical in your work in the civic sector. We recognize that the civic sector is diverse and ever-changing, that it is dynamic. Certainly as we look at what we are experiencing today, I often say that we're built for this. Our program is built to prepare civic leaders to grapple with complexity, to grapple with uncertainty, and to recognize that in the midst of all these things, being a leader who is prepared to manage these difficulties, manage these challenges with an eye towards resilience, with an eye towards strong communities. That takes a lot of time. It takes practice. It takes a great experience that is designed to make sure that you have the coursework and the experiences as a student that will expose you to those things. So our curriculum is built on 12 courses that focuses on applied practice and real world contexts. So the practice, the experiences that you have in classroom, in coursework, is really focused on experiential learning and practice. We bring together foundational knowledge with contemporary practice innovations. So recognizing, again, that the civic sector is ever changing, there are things that we can learn from the past, but certainly as we look to innovate, as we look to continue to move forward, bringing those lessons together towards contemporary practice is key. And again, our faculty bring both the academic qualifications and expertise from the field. As far as academic experiences, I was speaking to one student about our faculty, and they shared with me how impressed they were that our faculty have come from some of the most notable institutions throughout the country, but also they've worked in some of the more key organizations nationally to facilitate change and to move things forward. So again, our faculty brings those things to the table. Next slide, please. So throughout the program, it is built on flexibility and accessibility. We have online coursework. The program is majority online. There is an experiential part, which I'll get to in a couple of slides. But we're really built for mid-year and early career professionals, as well as students who are recent grads and those who are transitioning throughout their career. So when I think about the students who this program really speaks to, it's really about, do you want to be a civic leader, and do you want to make change in society, or even be able to sit in the role that you're currently in and be a voice and be one who can provide leadership and expertise in the space. So we're really about preparing you for that. So we do have experiences that are customized to students who are young or early in their careers. We also are supportive of students who are seeking to advance in their careers and helping you to advance in those ways. And also, if you're pivoting, if you're making a shift from one career field to another, we are positioned to help you with that as well. Our program has standalone graduate certificates. So if you are looking to only develop specialized expertise in one specific area, then you can do that through the program. We have that flexibility. Our graduate certificates are in the areas of K through 12 education leadership, nonprofit and strategic philanthropy, economic development, and environmental management. And I'll talk about those a little bit later in some of the other slides. And then the degree completion timeline, we believe that we want to make this so that you can hit the ground running, complete your degree, and immediately jump into practice or jump into the work that you're doing, or not even miss a beat if you're currently working. So the degree completion timelines that we have are feasible. 1 year if you're doing full-time, which would be 12 credit hours a term, and that would be fall, spring, and summer. Or if you're doing part-time, which would be 6 credit hours, you could complete in 2 years. So we want to make sure that you have a timeline that is realistic and feasible for you, so you have those options to complete in 1 or 2 years. Next slide, please. So our core courses, we have 7 core courses, which include a capstone course. And in looking at the core course, and you can dig a little bit more deeply into this on our website, but the focus of the core courses is really to orient you to civic leadership and the issues that are top of mind. So some of our core courses include things like technology in the civic sector, data, equity and diversity. So these are courses that really prepare you to grapple with the complexities of a changing society and some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that are there. So really with our core courses, they are practice focused, they are applied in nature, and they really are career focused in helping you to build those competencies. And you get the opportunity.
Halima, I'm sorry. Would it be okay if I say something about my course?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So like I said, I'm developing the Public Policy Foundations course, and this is a very typical course to get in an MPA. But what's different about how we're approaching it on this faculty is that typically in an MPA program, you're being prepared to be an analyst, which means that you have a client. That's the typical model. You have a client, you're doing work for that client, you're presenting the issues to that client. And again, it's from the analyst perspective. We approach policy from a very different point of view in this program. So there's a lot of overlap. You learn to be an analyst. You're going to be doing research into particular issues that are of interest to you. You're going to be presenting those issues, but the perspective is much more oriented toward being a practitioner. So we think that if you are a long-term government employee, you should still know about nonprofit and advocacy campaigns and how to figure out what level of government to pitch your advocacy toward. If you're going to be working in the nonprofit or the philanthropic sector, we want you to have the perspective of what it means to be in government and to be making decisions and to be responsible for policy implementation and how difficult and complicated that is, for example. And so in a relatively short period of time, right, because it's a 1 semester course, we're looking to give you all those different perspectives because like Halima said, we are preparing leaders for all aspects of civic sector leadership. And that is actually a little bit different from how many MPA programs approach policy in particular at this point. All right, thanks for letting me interrupt you, Halima.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Suri. And it's great to hear from one of our faculty who is in the process of developing the courses as we speak. So that's really great. Thank you for that, Suri. So we also have concentrations in the program, and they are optional. So you have 15 credit hours of electives, and that can be, and part of it can be devoted to a concentration. So the concentrations are made up of 4 classes, which is 12 credit hours. And these are the areas that they are in. We'll be launching the economic development and environmental management and resilience concentrations in fall of 2021. But the nonprofit and the K through 12 leadership concentration will be launching in the fall as well. So with those concentrations, you really have the opportunity to dig more deeply in a focused manner on those specific areas. And we have flexibility with those. So say, for instance, if you have an interest in leading an education-oriented nonprofit, you can take courses in both concentrations, and that's completely fine, and we're flexible with that. So these concentrations, again, offer that opportunity for specialized expertise, but you can also take electives as well. So we have flexibility with that. So looking at the experiential components of the program, you have the opportunity to dive more deeply into practice through our capstone experience. And through the capstone, that's the last course that you would be taking in the entire program. You do have a chance to work on a specific project with a specific organization in practice. So you get to test those skills that you've been building throughout. For our students who don't have work experience, we do have an internship that will be required for those students, and we'll work with you to identify your placement, what your internship will focus on. So we'll also guide you through that process as well. And that's specifically for students who don't have work experience. And that's generally about 3 years of work experience that we're talking about there. We also have a residency component, and I'm really excited about the residency component because as we were developing this program, a question of personal interaction and connection continue to kind of come up, given that we're in an online format, which online does not exclude you from that personal interaction, but there's still something to be said about that face-to-face contact. And within the civic sector and within the work that takes place in the civic sector, connections and contact are key and critical. So the residency really plays a huge role in providing those opportunities. Through the residency, you'll get to connect with experts in the field. You'll get to be involved in seminars and workshops. You'll also get to network with your peers and faculty members, and again, other industry leaders. And our first residency will be taking place June 3rd through June 6th in 2021. But at any point in your matriculation in the program, you can be a part, you can sign up for the residency. So it's not something that you have to wait for. Nor is it something that you have to do immediately at the beginning. So you have time to kind of plan out when's the best time for you to participate in the residency. Hopefully by 2021, we'll be able to do things live again.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're really glad we didn't plan it for this June.
Exactly. So yeah, fingers crossed on that. So hopefully we'll be in a good place to do that by 2021. So next slide. So career options, career pathways that you can take with an MPA degree are so diverse and so broad. Oftentimes, when I talk to people about what they can do with an MPA, the great thing is that there are so many opportunities. There are opportunities in government, nonprofits, corporate settings. You can work in policy, you can work in philanthropy, you can work in education. You can truly have an influence and impact on virtually every area of our society through working in the civic sector and by earning an MPA degree. We're seeing that there are projections of growth for MPA related jobs, and here's some of the statistics there that you see nationally as well as throughout the Southeast through the year 2026. I would project that given what we are experiencing, these numbers will likely increase. There'll likely be much more demand for civic sector experts in the coming years and well beyond 2026. So I will say that there's not only opportunity to enter into the field, but there's opportunity for growth. And that growth is largely built on your capacity to innovate, your capacity to adapt, all those things, all those skills that you'll be learning and developing through this program really sets you up to take advantage of the coming opportunities in the field and also to have an impact in the work that you do. Here are some of the examples of some of the careers that you may work in, and it's certainly not an exhaustive list. Nonprofits, local, state, federal government manager. There are many, many opportunities there. So as you're thinking about that and as you're connecting with our faculty and others who are involved with the program, keep in mind understanding and recognizing what someone's career path may have looked like throughout the sector. Take advantage of those opportunities to talk to people and understand how they ended up in the careers that they were in or what those experiences were. And certainly our faculty and program supporters and advisors are more than willing to be a resource for you there. So looking at our graduate certificates, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, those certificates, if you elect to take a standalone certificate, they're stackable into the degree. So say you want to get the certificate in K through 12 education leadership right now because there's something immediate that you want to focus on. Well, if you decide to come back and do the full MPA, that coursework will apply to the MPA degree. So it's stackable. Or you can take multiple certificates and the coursework would apply as well. So just keep in mind that if you elect to do a certificate first and then come back and do the full MPA, that coursework will still apply to the program.
Great. So I'm going to talk real quickly about some other aspects of our support for graduate students. And then we want to see if all of you have questions. And at any point, feel free to put a question in the chat box and we'll pay attention to that. And then we'll take a couple minutes at the end to see if anyone has questions that they want to ask out loud. Zoom, right? You can ask questions in multiple ways. So like I said at the beginning, one of the areas that we're really proud of in our school is student support and support for students to be successful. And what that means is that we work really hard to create a learning environment and access to services for you so that you can work really hard and do well in your courses and graduate. And so that means a highly experienced academic advisors, the faculty, right, we've talked about extensively. We have a dedicated career advisor in the school who is focused on helping, largely on helping working adult students to advance, which is a very different way of approaching career development than with people who don't have experience that they're looking to leverage. And then of course, all the value that comes from being an alumnus of Tulane itself, and the lifelong networks and access to services that you have that way. We also talk about credits for prior learning, which is an area of focus for the school. And what that means is that if you are highly experienced in the field, there is a process for mapping your experience against specific coursework through what's called a portfolio, and basically getting credit for that experience and shortening your time to degree, shortening the amount of tuition you have to pay, etc. This is something we do across the school, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And you know, we're getting people in this program who do have a lot of experience in the civic sector, decades of experience. And so there's the possibility of being exempted from some of our coursework. Okay, our application process is really straightforward. There's an online application that includes uploading your resume, a copy of a government ID, answering some essay questions that tell us more about you and about your interests here. There's an application fee that's going to be waived as a thank you for attending the webinar today, which we really appreciate. And then, of course, we need copies of all of your transcripts for graduate and undergraduate study from any institution that you've gone to. And you ultimately have to have official copies sent directly by the institutions. For Tulane graduates or for people who've attended Tulane, we go ahead and we pull those transcripts for you. But you can also give us unofficial copies of transcripts as part of the application process if you want to expedite our reviewing of your application, and then we'll just need the official copies before you register for class. The next, what did you want to say, Halima?
One thing about the applications, I often get asked the question of what are we looking for in the applications, and really the quality of your application is really important. And when I say quality of your application, I'm talking more so about how you articulate your interest in the program through the essays that are there as questions. So really giving thoughtful responses, making sure that they're high quality grammatically, you know, structurally, all those things are really important. So those are the things that we're really focusing on. I will say that it's a pretty, we have a strong candidate pool in the process and in the application. And certainly I look forward to reviewing all of your applications, but just know that we really, really hope to receive strong, high quality applications.
Right. Thank you, Halima. And writing is a big focus of this program. And yeah, so that's it, the writing starts with the application, right? Here are our application deadlines. I will say that we take applications for graduate study for the fall up until August 15th. I don't know that we're still going to be considering candidates for the MPA specifically at that point. We might be, but we might not. And so if you are really interested, I would urge you to go ahead and get your application in. I also have been saying to some folks who are partway through their applications that while the program starts in the fall, so we'll do orientation in mid-August, we actually have our first meeting of admitted students and faculty at the end of next week. And so if you're pretty close to finishing your application, I would strongly suggest going ahead and getting it done now so that Halima and others can review it and make an admissions decision. And you would actually, you know, there's if it's a complete application, you know, we do that pretty quickly, and there's the possibility that you could be in time to participate in that meeting, which we're really excited about because it's going to be the first time that people in the program are all coming together. The next slide talks about our tuition rates. You know, we know that paying for school is often a big challenge for our students. We know that you know, making really personal and long-term decisions about school and things like whether or not and how much debt to take on in the form of loans for graduate school is a really big decision. And we feel great, not just that we have different opportunities for some members of the civic sector, current members, to get discounts, but also that our tuition is quite affordable. So if you compare our tuition to other institutions like Tulane and to the cost of getting an MPA degree in peer institutions, we're a really good deal. So a Tulane graduate degree at, you know, about $1,100 a credit for a 36 credit program it's a really good deal. And it's, you know, one of the reasons why we keep our tuition relatively low is that we are focused on access for a wide range of individuals across our entire school. It's one of our school values. But also it's an acknowledgement that you're probably not going into public administration to become incredibly wealthy, and that the jobs that people take, while they pay a living wage and they can pay decently and even well, you don't want to be saddled by a ton of graduate school debt going into this sector. And so I think at this time, especially when a lot of people are struggling financially or facing a lot of uncertainty, our tuition is a pretty good deal in a relative sense. So again, that's the end of our presentation. We have a next slide that has Halima's contact information and office number. I advise emailing and not calling because we're not actually in our offices, although we check the messages every day. But I just wanted to take a couple minutes now and see if folks have questions. And again, maybe you want to stop sharing the screen, Maddie, if you want to speak up, or if you want to put it in the chat box, go ahead, please. So I see an email from Denise about people who are in the Fulbright program. So we have a really special scholarship right now for individuals, and this is not just at SOPA, but it's actually across almost every school at Tulane. Individuals who've been evacuated from placements around the world through the Fulbright program and also in the Peace Corps are getting a very significant tuition scholarship. At our school, it's a scholarship of 25% of tuition. And so I think, my personal feeling is it's kind of an unbeatable deal. And we're really excited because we are getting some fabulous students through this opportunity. People who are in the unfortunate situation of having had to leave a Fulbright or a Peace Corps placement. And just to say, because we have someone from the School of Public Health on the webinar, it was actually the idea of Tom Leviste, who's the Dean of Public Health at Tulane, to create this opportunity. And then all the other deans got really excited about it. And I think it is a fabulous thing that we're offering it. And it's a fabulous opportunity for people who are in this difficult position of having to figure out what to do next when it was not your plan to be in the United States. Any other questions that people have? One question that does come up frequently in these webinars is whether or not we require the GRE as part of the admissions process. And so just to say, we don't think that the GRE is a valid measure of your ability to do graduate level work in this program. And actually in other programs in the school. And so we don't require it. And there's actually a growing movement to amongst many schools where they can to no longer require the GRE. So that's not something we require. Any other questions that folks have? All right. Well, Halima and I really appreciate your time today. Like I said, your application fee will be waived. You're going to get a follow-up email in the next day with a recording of this webinar should you want to listen to it all over again. We are really excited to see your applications. And Halima, anything else you want to say?
No, that's all I have. So thank you all for joining us. Oh, one thing, follow us on Twitter. Maddie, can you go back to the previous slide with our social media?
Oh yeah, she just put it in the chat, Tulane MPA.
Yes, Tulane MPA. We have a Twitter feed, and there we feature a lot of the work that our faculty is doing. We feature some of the work that our advisory board members are doing. So please follow us on social media and let's stay connected.
All right. Thanks everyone. We really appreciate your time. Have a good afternoon.
Take care.